This week's challenge moon, Rizoo-83, is brutal. I probably spent more time on this run than my previous two runs combined, and I still think that this route could probably be improved. For this moon, we're on Assurance during an eclipse. Assurance is usually one of the safer moons for standard play, but the spawns on this particular seed are really dangerous. There's 3 dogs and a worm that spawn outside, all of which spawn pretty close to the ship, and one of the dogs actually spawns before the ship even lands. These mobs become even harder to deal with when you're starting to bring items back to the ship, because pretty much all of the easily accessible items either make noise that's going to attract the dogs, or they're heavy and they're going to make it even harder to avoid the worm. The highest yield items that are available are robot toys, the apparatus, and a few bottles, all of which happen to be very problematic to collect considering the mobs. The interior is a bit safer. The only spawns I came across in my runs were a spider and a loot bug by the entrance. There's also a bracken that spawns near the fire exit. These are pretty manageable though. There are some bizarre turret spawns that make things a little trickier, but the interior really isn't too bad. In my opinion, probably the defining characteristic of this moon is this turret that spawns in a doorway in the middle of the facility, effectively cutting the map in half. This turret spawn ends up being a pretty cool gimmick and was a pretty unique challenge to route around, but after a few different iterations, I came up with a pretty consistent route that achieves 825 total scrap, which I'm pretty happy with, and here's the run. Yeah, trying out a little bit of a different intro style there. Something kind of scripted to talk about the moon and the run and everything like that. Yeah, first thing I want to say is just thanks to everyone who watched the video last week. It's been really well received, which is really cool. I had a lot of fun planning that route out. This week was definitely a lot tougher than last week. This moon is just really RNG dependent for solo runs. I had honestly like even a higher scoring route than this actually figured out, but it was just a little bit, I mean, even more RNG dependent than this route, and I was just getting completely owned by like the dogs and the worms. So I changed to a slightly safer and more consistent route, which is the one that you're seeing here. Scoring higher than this as a solo is definitely possible. You just really have to grind. And I didn't want to grind for like 10 hours to get, you know, like 870 over the 825 I get in this run. So I'm pretty happy with the way that this one turned out. And our first little bit of RNG here is this spider. Sometimes he'll just wander out into the middle of the room and there's literally nothing you can do to get around him without dropping items, which is, you know, just kind of not really an option for the run. You can definitely get past him without him aggroing you. I was not so lucky this time around, but I did try and kind of save up a lot of stamina there just to, you know, try and get around him. And we have to juke him a little bit here. There is a turret that spawns kind of on the wall, the left wall in that stairwell there. It can't actually see you if you're just on the ground or just up top, but if you either jump down or go up the staircase, you pass through its line of sight and it can see you, and then it can shoot you pretty much anywhere. So I always just try to make sure I have a little bit of stamina when I'm going through that stairwell, just so I don't die to turret. But you know, it definitely happens. We're gonna get out with our 2 inventories here. The reason we're starting main over like starting fire exit, because obviously you can do the fast fire exit entry on this map. We start main because there is a loot bug that spawns over here, and I just want to try and get all of the items out before he spawns, so I don't have to deal with him later and like come back with a shovel or anything like that. This just winds up being a little bit faster and more consistent. And you'll notice I'm not taking the safe way back here. The reason for that is that there just isn't really time to take the safe way back for every trip of items in this run. So I'm just kind of getting one of the unsafe trips out of the way early. So if I do die to the worm or the dogs or both here, I can just reset pretty early. And the worm does aggro us there. I managed to escape it. But I had so many runs that were ended by worms, which is weird because when I was doing the runs for last week's moon on offense, I really didn't have a lot of trouble with the worms. The one run that I did get that was successful, the worms were aggroing me a lot, but they didn't even really attack me. But yeah, this week I was just getting completely owned by these worms. And we did hear a dog actually roaring there for a second. I had a lot of weird interactions with dogs on this run. Like, they were just aggroing on seemingly nothing. Like, I would come out of the facility and the dogs on the other side of the map would be aggroed on something. I literally don't know what was going on. I don't know if like the sound of maybe the birds, like the manticoils flying around, if they can aggro on that maybe. Yeah, super, super strange. I'm really not sure what was going on. We dodge a dog there, and now we're going into the fire exit. We're going to grab 2 inventories from in here. Really the only thing to worry about on this side of the map is the Bracken. He does spawn around noon, and he's right there behind me, so I'm just trying to dodge him. And you'll see there that when I did come down here earlier for that other set of bottles, I dropped the robot. That's because there's actually not enough items over here for me to get 2 full inventories unless I go really deep into the facility just to get one other one-handed item. So it kind of made sense to route down here from the main, drop off that robot and grab one of the bottles, and then come back later for the other bottle. And yeah, this Bracken is going to be kind of a nuisance for this entire run. I'm just trying to not look directly at him or run at him too fast so we don't aggro him. I did also figure out a route here where we can take our time a little bit just to play safe around the dogs and this Bracken, just making sure I don't have to rush too much. And my FPS actually starts to tank here. This is an issue that I have a lot with Brackens. I don't know what causes it, but like there are times where if I look at a Bracken and it gets aggro on me, I just like drop down to like 30 frames for my normal like, I have a 144 hertz monitor and I'm normally well above that. But sometimes the Bracken just makes me lag like crazy. And I'm keeping an eye out for him now. I'm pretty positive that he's just kind of wandered back down towards the fire exit where we were before. There is a chance that he could have gone off to the left side there. There's a stairwell there. I actually don't know if we see him again for the rest of the run. I'm just doing a lot of looking around. Oh, I guess he actually is in front of me. And yeah, every time I was running this map, the Bracken would always just go exactly where I needed to go. So I was pretty much just following him around the facility for like every run. Like I said, you just kind of have to give him the little side eye, give him a little 45-degree angle kind of glance, and he'll usually back off. And I think at this point, he's probably just kind of wandered down into that room with the turret that we were in before. Close the door on him here, and we'll get out with this inventory. Something else worth noting is that I am dropping items up here instead of taking them along the pipe and dropping them on the ground. The reason for that is honestly just flexibility. Depending on where the dogs are, you sometimes don't really want to drop items off. I think kind of leaving your options open and having the flexibility to go either where those dogs are right now or where I'm going right now, kind of the safe route. Being able to choose between those, depending on where the dogs are, is pretty useful. It would definitely be a little bit faster to just immediately take items and drop them off the pipe, but you know, it's just going to wind up with a less consistent route. And then you would just have to grind like 100 routes or 100 runs out to hopefully just get good RNG with where the dogs go, which I was not interested in doing. And we'll take the semi-safe way back here. You can definitely still die to the worm up here, but it's a little bit easier to get to safe locations. And 2 of the dogs are off that way, and I'm not really sure where the 3rd dog is. I think he might just be kind of over towards the main a little bit. Drop this inventory off here. And I'm going to go back over to the main now and grab the 2nd inventory that I have over there that's waiting for me. Just keeping an eye out for one of the dogs to be here. And we do actually have the worm aggro on us right now. Managed to outrun it. Yeah, they were just, they were biting today. I don't know what it was, but they were really on me. And with this old phone item, I know that these can make noise, but I'm honestly not sure how the mechanic works. I feel like in my experience, they usually only make noise if I'm holding them. So I'm just kind of hoping that it is not going to make noise and get me killed here. Again, I'm not 100% sure how that mechanic actually works. That's just pretty anecdotal. It winds up working out here. We do get back to the ship without any problems. Yeah, there is this dog here. I was kind of worried about him, but he ends up just kind of wandering past me. I think with like really optimized movement, you could get more items out, but you know, like I was saying before, I just kind of wanted to leave myself a little bit of a buffer just to, you know, if I have instances like that where there's a dog right on me, I can just, instead of having to worry about running, I can just crouch for a second and just play it extra safe. And the last inventory of items I need to grab is back by the fire exit, so I'm going to go ahead and buy a walkie-talkie here to have the ship come down and hopefully distract the dogs so I can go over this way and grab the items without too many issues. And again, we do have to go back up the ladder here, which is definitely not entirely optimal. But, you know, just playing a little bit safer, leaving myself some flexibility in the pathing. One other thing I should note here is that I chose not to record my mic for this run, just because I knew that I was going to be having to like yell at dogs a lot, and I didn't want to have to like talk over myself in the post commentary. But there were quite a few moments, you know, as I was doing these runs where I was having to yell at dogs to try and redirect them. I don't think I actually had to do that at all in this run, but there were definitely a lot of other runs where, you know, it was a pretty useful strat to be able to yell at them. Just for clarification, I'm playing with push to talk, so I don't have to worry about like noise from my keyboard distracting them or anything. And yeah, that's why the ordering the walkie is a good strat, because all three of the dogs are up there. I'm just gonna book it for the ship now. And we're good, we're safe. And there is like an extra hour of time there. You know, I think if you played a little bit more risky, you could definitely get more items out, but yeah, I'm pretty happy with this run. We get 825 total scrap here. 800 was the number I wanted to beat, so I'm definitely happy with this. There are some slightly more valuable items inside that you could grab, like there's a mask, there's more stop signs, but this just wound up being the path that I came up with that worked best for me. And yeah, that is the run.